What kind of world do we want to live in? You know, I grew up, and I'll bet every one of you did too, I grew up believing in an America where we were looked up to and respected. Remember this great shining light? This beacon of freedom and democracy and human rights that the entire planet looked up to. Where did it go?
Bush.
Where did it go? It's not just Bush, though. Bush played a big role in it, but it's not just Bush. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I want to live in that America again. I want my children to live in a world where we're the country that's looked up to and respected, where we're the model for the rest of the world, where it's not Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib and spying on Americans, where instead we actually stand up for our liberties and our freedom, where we don't give away our liberties in the name of freedom, which is what we see happening every single day. We're better than that. America's better than that. And then finally, I want to say something about our party, because I think it's so important to the future of America and the future of the world. I want to be really clear about this. I know there are a lot of great Democrats here. I love the Democratic Party. But there's so much more at stake than our party, because we see what happens when our party doesn't show the leadership that it needs. Our country needs our party's leadership. So what do we need? I want to be part of a Democratic Party of big ideas. I want to be part of a Democratic Party with backbone and strength and conviction, people who will fight for what we actually believe in. I want to be a party that stands up for people who don't have a voice. And I'm talking about, and this is why I'm a Democrat. It's why I'll be a Democrat when I die. Because our party gives voice to people who otherwise have no voice. I'm talking about the poor, the uninsured, the disenfranchised. I'm talking about people who have the courage to speak the truth, even when it runs against overwhelming public opinion. I'm talking about, in today's world, the forgotten middle class. I mean families that are just out there struggling every day just to pay their bills, just to make ends meet. Our party's going to have to show some strength and leadership. I'll tell you what I don't want to be. I don't want to be a party that's part of a party that's driven by polls and focus groups, that's trying to figure out what we're supposed to say. How about if we say what we actually believe? How about if we stand up for the people that we have always stood up for? So America needs us. They do. They need us. They need us so desperately. And there's no group of Americans who needs us more than 37 million of our own people who are worried about feeding and clothing their children. I mean, I know that all of you saw these pictures coming out of New Orleans when the hurricane hit the Gulf Coast. For a lot of the country, and I know you know this too, this was a wake-up call. The truth is, for a lot of America, they hadn't thought about, didn't want to think about, I think, that millions of our own people are struggling like that. Well, I still remember, I was a teenager when it happened. I remember watching Bobby Kennedy go through Appalachia and show America the other America, you know, the other America that most of the country didn't know about, didn't want to think about. Well, it's time for us to reawaken America again. I mean, America, you watch the way our country responded to this hurricane. Not the government. The government was a mess by any measure. But, and by the way, just as an aside, they can talk all they want about the bureaucracy and the FEMA. This was a failure of presidential leadership. That's exactly what it was. There's no question about that. And I'll tell you why. Because if the President of the United States had gone to New Orleans and instead of giving speeches, had actually traveled and spent time to see what was happening, if the President of the United States had demanded action, action would have been taken. If the President of the United States had said, as he should have, I want you in my office every morning, and I want you to tell me what you did in New Orleans yesterday. Not what you did last week or last month. I want to know what you did yesterday. I have to tell you, I was in New Orleans about 2 months ago. We had 700 college kids who gave up their spring break to go down there and work. They were absolutely amazing. I mean, they were down there working in houses with me. And you know, I may not look it, but I'm 53 years old. I was tired. I mean, I had trouble. I had trouble keeping up with these kids. I really did. But they were so uplifting, you know, so inspiring. I mean, their willingness to serve, They were there to serve. I mean, you think about this. There's no other reason for those kids to be there. Don't tell me that all of our young people are cynical and apathetic and they don't care. It's not the truth. I know it's not the truth.